Update. I've eloped a week earlier because my parents and my sister's boyfriend were planning a surprise engagement on my wedding day. Original post. Maybe this is the wrong place, but I'm going to explode with rage and disappointment at my family. My baby sister is the golden child, or maybe that's unfair to say. She survived cancer when she was a child. It was the darkest period of my parents' lives. I don't remember much of it because my parents shielded me from the horrific truth. I knew she was sick, and I remember spending my childhood in hospitals, but I never knew that my sister had almost died until many years later. I was 12, and she was 10. After she beat her sickness, she became the obvious favorite in the house. She got everything she wanted, and sometimes it was at my expense. I resented that, but I was always told that I was a naughty girl for being jealous of my hero's sister. My sister grew up to be a brat. Now, 20 years later, she's still bratty, although we get along a lot better than when we were teenagers and young adults. My wedding is in July. Neither my fiancé nor I have the money for a big wedding. We settled on a small wedding, 30 people, at my fiancé's grandparents' house, which has a beautiful lake view. When my parents heard this, they said, "No way," and offered to pay for a bigger wedding at a better venue. We didn't agree at first, but later we didn't want to disappoint them. It seemed important to them. Last week, my mom invited me over. My dad, mom, and my sister's boyfriend asked me what I would think if my sister's boyfriend proposed to my sister during my wedding, turning it into an engagement party as well. My mom has seen Instagram reels of people proposing to maids of honor or bridesmaids and thought it was cute. My sister is my maid of honor. I said, "No, that's ridiculous," and I laughed. My mom was livid. She told me I was selfish and ungrateful, and I accused her of favoritism. I told her I'd always thought it was odd that she was paying for my wedding, but now I knew the reason why. She started crying and kicked me out of the house. Later, both she and my future brother-in-law sent me texts, warning me not to expose their plan to my sister. My fiancé was disappointed, but wasn't sure what we could do. My parents have already spent almost $30,000, and it's too late to cancel. My mother called me today to plan the proposal, and I begged her not to ruin my day. She told me that since she was paying, she could make requests, and that I should let go of my jealousy and resentment toward my sister because she's innocent in all of this. But the thing is, this day will be about my sister. I told my fiancé to ask his grandparents if they're still willing to host our wedding. If they are, I'll revert to our original plan. If not, I will just elope. Not sure yet if I'm going to tell my family and cancel the wedding, or just let them have their grand proposal party. None of my family is invited to my wedding, including my sister. Now for the top advice before reading the update. Uninvite them. Go do the wedding at the grandparents' house, and let your sister and parents have a $30,000 engagement party. Great that your sister survived cancer, but your parents put you on the back burner your whole life. Now it's your turn to enjoy your moment. Do what's best for you. This is an awesome suggestion because it's what they were planning all along. This is all very messed up. It reminds me of the Reddit story where a girl was graduating from college and her parents decided to go to her younger sibling's prom instead. WTF? What is wrong with some of these parents? That's messed up. And you are right, this was all pre-planned. If you do have it at your fiancé's grandparents' house, will you invite your family? It seems like they can't stand for you to be the center of attention, even on a day that should be about you. I won't. I'm done. They have no right to try to force this on your wedding. I've had a lot of medical issues throughout my childhood, including cancer, and still do as an adult. I always felt guilty that my little brother spent so much time in the hospital or staying with my aunts. Once I was healthier, we shifted the attention back to him as the baby of the family. One year, I was in the hospital with cancer, and he spent his 7th birthday with our aunts. We had a mini party at the hospital on the weekend, and one of my dad's employees made him a WWE cake as a gift. Then, when I was back home, everyone decided to throw him a big birthday party at the park. He got a lot of gifts and felt much better about not spending his birthday with us. My parents always made sure we all had the same amount of attention and love. I'm sorry that your parents didn't do that for you. I don't blame you for uninviting them to your wedding. This is supposed to be one of the happiest days of your life, and they don't deserve to be there if they can't let it be about you and your fiancé. I'd elope, but don't cancel the venue and show up in jeans and a t-shirt for the engagement party. I like this. Now for the update. I really want to thank everyone who showed me support. I'm now happily married and in Como, Italy for my honeymoon. I tried to stay away from my phone, but I was so curious to see my family's reaction to my elopement a week earlier than planned. It was really ugly. I must start by saying that I really tried my best to negotiate and compromise with my family and truly explain that this was hurting me. I have nothing against my sister and, to be honest, nothing against her getting engaged at my wedding. But the fact that it was made very clear to me that I had absolutely no opinion or say in what was going to happen on what was supposed to be my special day was where I drew the line. It wasn't a wish or a request, it was a matter of fact, and it had already been decided. So, I told my mom that I was not going to attend the party she had paid for. Maybe they should just make it an engagement party instead. She got very upset and told me that the engagement was supposed to be a surprise. I told her I was just giving her a heads up since she was about to lose an insane amount of money. She didn't take me seriously, as if I was going to cancel my wedding over something so trivial. What she didn't know was that I had already made plans to get married a week earlier at my grandparents-in-law's house. We invited our closest friends, and some even had to book earlier flights and take more vacation days. I was extra grateful to them. The last thing left was my sister. I had been going back and forth, arguing and negotiating with my parents and future brother-in-law. I decided that even if it would ruin her surprise, I had to tell her, so I did. She wasn't happy with my mom, but she was more upset that I ruined her surprise. And as I expected, she thought I could just suck it up and gone with the flow. I didn't tell her about my new wedding date. The wedding was dreamlike. In the back of my mind, I was hurt that the people who loved me the most weren't there, but I pushed that thought away and refused to let it ruin our day. My husband was amazing. He promised to make me happy for the rest of my life and to make up for every heartbreak I've experienced in my past. My in-laws surprised us by upgrading our honeymoon to a 5-star hotel. I had my friends, some cousins, and my favorite aunt attending. We asked them not to live stream or upload any pictures to social media until we were already on our honeymoon. We also asked them not to engage in any online altercations with my family. Today, my mom made long Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram posts bashing me and my husband, calling me ungrateful and disrespectful while posting pictures of my wedding. She told people that I had cost her a big chunk of her savings and was now demanding compensation. Her Facebook post was shared about 200 times, and the majority of my extended family is angry with me. She never once tried to contact me. I really thought she would bombard my phone. Instead, both she and my dad announced that they were cutting me off and were expecting compensation. Future brother-in-law commented that I ruined his surprise, and my sister made a post about being tired of jealous bees and haters. None of the people we invited have commented, even though some of them were directly attacked, so they respected our wishes. I don't know if they're going to go ahead and turn the wedding into an engagement party now. I really hope they do so the money isn't wasted. It's on Saturday. I'm sorry the update got too long, but with the number of people asking for one, I hope this was what you wanted. When will people realize how tacky and disrespectful it is to propose to someone at someone else's wedding? Good on OP for moving her wedding date and making sure that her family didn't ruin her special day. This was supposed to be her day, not her sister's. It is ridiculous that her family was telling her she should just accept it as if they were doing her a favor by pulling this kind of stunt. The entitlement is ridiculous. Trust me, they know. Everyone knows. Some people are just that self-involved that they don't care, and others do it as a deliberate slight. The sister and brother-in-law are too self-involved to care, but her parents did it deliberately. They wanted her to know she's second tier. They clearly wanted to steal the spotlight, and that's all there is to it, I guess. Even if it's distasteful to everyone else, it makes them feel better about themselves. They want to shine at the expense of making OP play second fiddle. I hope OP doesn't feel obligated to pay her parents back, since they were the ones to insist on the big party and they still had it without her. They'd have to sue OP for it, and Mom would be laughed right out of the courtroom. I mean, fingers crossed they will laugh her out of everywhere. Next story. I'm not adding my stepmom's extended family to my wedding guest list. I, 26 female, will be getting married next year. My fiancé and I are paying for the wedding ourselves with no help from anyone. This includes my dad and stepmom, as well as my maternal side, who are all invited and a big part of my life. With that out of the way, I want to know if I'm wrong here. My dad and stepmom got married when I was 10, which was 2 years after my mom died. It wasn't long after their wedding that my stepmom's family got annoyed on her behalf, that she wasn't treated like a member of my mom's family, and that I called her my stepmom instead of my mom. They felt my stepmom deserved more respect from my mom's family, even though my mom's family didn't have an issue with any of them at that point. They just called her what she is, my stepmom. Things got really bad when my dad threw me a sweet 16. He didn't want to invite my mom's family because he said it would make my stepmom and her family uncomfortable. I asked who the party was for and said they didn't have to come if they had an issue with my family being there. My stepmom told her family, and they put all the blame on my mom's family. They acted so offended that I would prefer to have my actual family there over people who were sort of family, but never really felt like my family. There's a really good chance that having everyone at the wedding would lead to attempts at fights. But even without that, I really don't have a connection to my stepmom's family. I don't hate them, but I don't see them as my third family either. My stepmom is close to her family though, and wants them at the wedding. For me, it's less of a headache not to invite them, and it also feels less greedy. Inviting people I would quickly lose touch with if my dad divorced or died, and who I don't care for personally, seems greedy, like a gift grab. I put my foot down and said no to adding them to the guest list, which upset my stepmom. My dad offered to pay 100% of the cost for my stepmom's extended family. He told me it means they're sorta his guests instead of mine, but they'd still be there. I asked him if he'd keep them on a short leash so they wouldn't start fights. I also asked if he'd make it clear that they wouldn't be in family photos. He admitted they would need to be included to prevent hurt feelings and more trouble, and he said he can't control adults, so I told him my no was still solid. My dad and stepmom think I'm being a bridezilla about this. Am I? Now for the comments. Nah, you're not being a bridezilla at all. Your wedding? Your guest list. It's clear you're not excluding them out of spite. You just don't have a meaningful relationship with them, and their presence could create unnecessary drama. The fact that your dad can't even guarantee they won't start trouble just proves your point. You're paying for your own wedding, which means you get to decide who's there. If your stepmom wants them at an event so badly, she can host her own gathering. Stay firm on your boundaries. You're making the right call. As much as my dad wants to please his wife, he can't deny how much her family hates my maternal side. He also knows they like to confront my maternal side whenever they see them, and a wedding would give them hours to do just that. They don't appear to realize that none of that makes me like them more, and it doesn't win me over to their side. They've spent years making things uncomfortable for you and your mom's family, but now expect a front row seat at your wedding like they've been nothing but supportive? You're setting a boundary, and that doesn't make you a bridezilla. It makes you someone who values peace on your big day. Tell your dad this. Are you willing to ruin your relationship with me over this? If so, don't come to the wedding, because you are making things worse and not supporting me. Stop forcing me to do things I don't want to do on my happy day. That involves my family while I'm standing in for my mom who isn't here. Your father is an ass. He's failed you. I agree. OP, Dad should know that his daughter's feelings and decision is important in this occasion, not theirs. Last story. Told my brother's girlfriend that she's weird AF. I female 19, and my twin brother have what I would consider a normal brother-sister relationship. We both still live at home with our parents and have similar hobbies. We're not attached at the hip or anything like that, but when we're both chilling at home, we'll often play video games together or do something we both enjoy. For example, we both like those intricate Lego sets, and we'll help each other build them while we just chat about stuff. But we have separate lives and do different things too. My brother now has a girlfriend, which is great. I'm happy for him. I myself have a boyfriend who I've been with for the last year or so. My brother has been with his girlfriend for the last couple of months. Whenever my boyfriend comes over, my brother is kind to him and they really get along, so they've become friends, which is nice. But then my boyfriend and I go and do our own things. It's not like my brother is some third wheel in my relationship. Like I said, we have separate lives, but it's nice that my boyfriend and my brother get along. I'd love to have the same dynamic with his girlfriend, but she just doesn't like me. I try, but I get nothing from her. And it's not a case of her being shy or anything. There's tension there for some reason. I can feel it. Though I try to push it aside and be nice to her, it's very clear she has no interest in being my friend or even talking to me. She turned up at our house yesterday. My brother wasn't actually expecting her, but he invited her in. We were in the middle of a game that wouldn't take much longer, so he said, "I'll just finish this with sis, and then we can go chill or do something." She rolled her eyes slightly and sat down on the sofa next to him in the living room, while we finished up this two-player thing. When we were done, not even 10 minutes later, he handed me the other controller and she side-eyed me and said, "Finally." So I just decided to say something. I'll literally write how the conversation went. Me: "Do you have some kind of problem with me?" Her: "No." Me: "Seems like you do. Why did you side-eye me then? And why are you always so weird with me?" Her: "You two are always together. It's weird." Me: looks at my brother, then back at her. "We're actually not. Believe it or not, we have our own lives." Her: "Always seems like you're together. All the time." My brother: at her, uncomfortable with this interaction. "Babe." Me: "He is my brother. We live in the same house." Laughs. Her: gets annoyed that I laughed. "Whatever, it's weird." Me: "No, you're freaking weird." Turns away to boot up another game to play by myself. Her: storms off upstairs. My brother follows her. I didn't see them for another few hours. Then they went out and he stayed at her place that night. Today he came home, and I wouldn't say he was annoyed at me, but he let me know that his girlfriend was upset that I called her weird, and now feels like she can't come over here anymore, which is really dramatic to be honest. I explained to him that she is weird for whatever problem she seems to have with me and him. I asked him, "Do you ever see my boyfriend getting weird about you and me?" He said no, and that I had a point. I told him she treats me like I'm some kind of threat, and that's weird. I've been nothing but nice to her, and she gives me nothing back. He admitted he had noticed that. I told him his relationships are none of my business, but she's weird AF for the way she is with me. I also said I'd be willing to talk to her, or maybe he should, to see why she's like this. I have no idea what her problem is. She's jealous of his sibling. Is she jealous of your mother too? Is any woman allowed to talk to him? If he stays with her, he's so screwed. She's crazy. It really seems she's insecure and projecting that onto you. If she's jealous of a sibling, who knows where it'll loop? Your brother should be careful about staying with someone so controlling. My brother had a girlfriend like this. She hated it when he would talk to me if she was at our house and would always interrupt to put his attention back on her. He was at my wedding and wearing a tux, so she wore a white dress and tried to get my photographer to take a bunch of pictures of them. He went on to marry her. Then he divorced her and was happy again. OP should encourage her brother to move on, because it's cheaper than paying for a wedding and a divorce later. She was out of line for acting like your normal sibling relationship is some kind of problem. It's weird that she feels threatened by you just spending time with your brother in your own home. You didn't say anything out of line. She kept pushing and you just called it like it is. If she can't handle being around you because of that, that's on her. It's a green flag that he has a great relationship with his sister. Girlfriend is a dum-dum.